Uvira, a city strategically located in the South Kivu Province of the eastern region of the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Covering approximately 207 square kilometers and with an estimated population of 726,000 as of 2024, it borders Bavira Chiefdom and Ruzizi Plain Chiefdom to the north, Bavira Chiefdom to the south, and Lake Tanganyika and the Ruzizi River to the east. These rivers form natural boundaries between the DRC and Burundi. Located in the Ruzizi Plain at a low altitude, the city lies between Burundi's Congo-Nile ridge and the Mitumba mountains. Uvira is the central hub of the surrounding Uvira Territory, with an economy anchored in trade, fishing, agriculture, and livestock farming, while the port of Kalundu provides regional transport routes across Lake Tanganyika, connecting the city with Kalemie, Kigoma, Mpulungu, and Bujumbura. The city is also an important religious center, serving as the episcopal seat of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Uvira, which is a suffragan of the Archdiocese of Bukavu. Uvira has historically been shaped by waves of migration, Arab Swahili commercial expansion, and Belgian colonial administration. From the early 1900s, it became a strategic garrison of the Congo Free State, serving as a northernmost entry point from the Indian Ocean via Lake Tanganyika and a base for monitoring German East Africa positions in Rwanda, Burundi and Tanzania mainland. It hosted up to 1,800 troops under Inspector Paul Coste-Hermans and became the site of a war council on October 17, 1900, which established the Ruzizi Kivu Territory with Uvira as its headquarters. By a ministerial decree of September 11, 1911, Uvira became the seat of the Kivu zone of the Stanleyville district. When Kivu was elevated to district status on November 3, 1913, Uvira briefly served as the district capital until the seat was moved to Rutshuru in 1914. It later gained city status through a presidential decree in 2018, making it the second officially recognized city in South Kivu after Bukavu. Administratively, Uvira is subdivided into 3 communes, Kalundu, Mulongwe, and Kagando, and is home to a blend of ethnic diversity, dominated by the Bafuliru, Vira, and Bimbe, alongside significant expatriate populations from neighboring and overseas countries. The city has also been significantly impacted by long-term conflict and frequent population displacements, which have affected the city and surrounding regions for nearly 4 decades. Uvira is located at the northernmost tip of Lake Tanganyika. To the north are Kavimvira's hot springs and the Nyangara marshlands. To the south lies the Ruzizi River, forming a natural border with the Kalungu groupment of the Bavira Chiefdom. Lake Tanganyika and Burundi border it to the east, while the Mitumba Mountains rise to the west. Kalundu, a lake port located at the southern end of the city, serves as a connection point for boats heading to Kalemie in Tanganyika Province, Kigoma in Tanzania, Mpulungu in Zambia, and Bujumbura. Located approximately 120 kilometers from Bukavu, South Kivu's capital, Uvira is accessible by road from Bukavu and Bujumbura and is 60 kilometers from Fizi territory. Lake Tanganyika supports thriving fishing and transportation industries. Uvira is characterized by the presence of several rivers and is rich in streams. The city is dominated by Lake Tanganyika, which borders it from the northeast and southeast. From the west, Uvira is crossed by various rivers, namely the Kambarulu River, Ruzizi River, Kakungwe River, Kibinda River, Kamanyola River, Kalimabenge River, Mulongwe River, and Kanvinvira River. The presence of Lake Tanganyika significantly influences the climate and weather patterns in the region, as large bodies of water have an impact on local temperatures and precipitation. Uvira lies geologically within the Ruzizi Plain, an integral part of the East African Rift's western branch, specifically within the Albertine Rift, a sub-region of the Great Rift Valley. This tectonically active region is characterized by a staircase-like formation of horsts and graben, along with faulting and volcanic activity. Uvira's geological substratum is composed of ancient Precambrian rock formations, such as gneisses, quartzites, and granites, as well as more recent quaternary alluvial deposits. These formations have produced a diverse array of soil types, from clay-rich soils in hilly areas to sandy alluvium in the valley floor. The city experiences a tropical climate with a clear division between wet and dry seasons. The wet season in Uvira typically occurs from January to mid-May and from mid-September to December, and a dry season spanning from June to September. Temperature variations align with the seasons and elevation, with lower temperatures in the high plateau, 15 degrees to 25 degrees Celsius, and moderate temperatures, 20 degrees to 30 degrees Celsius, in the Ruzizi Plain during the dry season. For more than 3 decades, Uvira has been characterized by persistent armed conflict, militia activity, and intercommunal violence. The region became a focal battleground during the First Congo War, 1996 to 1997, which was itself a direct consequence of the regional upheavals following the 1994 Rwandan genocide. Following the genocide, the Rwandan Patriotic Front, RPF, under Paul Kagame seized power in Kigali, ousting the regime of Juvenal Habyarimana. While pursuing genocide heirs, the RPF simultaneously engaged in systematic violence against Hutu civilians. A confidential report prepared by Robert Gersony for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, UNCRR, documented large-scale atrocities, estimating that between 5,000 and 10,000 Hutus were executed monthly during the spring and summer of 1994. These killings reportedly followed a recurring pattern in which RPF forces summoned local populations to so-called peace and reconciliation meetings, only to execute the assembled groups. The violence triggered a massive exodus, with more than 2 million Rwandan Hutus, including civilians and Interahamwe militia members, fleeing into eastern Zaire, particularly into North and South Kivu. By this period, Mobutu Sese Seko's regime had lost much of its capacity to control the national territory. In early 1996, the Rwandan Patriotic Army, RPA, the Ugandan military, and the Forces Armes Burundaises, FAB, provided support to Banyamulenge and other Tutsi armed groups in the borderlands. On October 18, 1996, the Alliance of Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Congo, AFDL, led by Laurent Desire Kabila, was formally established with direct backing from the RPA and FAB. According to UNCRR estimates, Uvira Territory hosted approximately 219,466 refugees at the time, 2/3 of whom were Burundians, dispersed across 11 camps along the Ruzizi River. Their presence in densely concentrated sites made them acutely vulnerable to military operations. On the day of the AFDL's official proclamation, combined AFDL and RPA forces launched a coordinated assault in Uvira Territory, during which at least 88 civilians were killed in Kigoma with 15 buried in Uvira. Between 24 and October 25, 1996, AFDL, RPA, and FAB troops captured Uvira, routing the Forces Armes Zaïroises, FAZ, and consolidating control over the broader Uvira territory. As Burundian and Rwandan refugees scattered in multiple directions, the occupying forces established checkpoints throughout the Ruzizi Plain, including at Bujra, Sanga, Luberizi, and Kiliba, as well as at strategic points such as the entrance to Uvira, Makobola II in Fiza territory, and the Rushima ravine in Uvira territory. At these posts, people were screened under the pretext of repatriation, with those identified as Rwandan or Burundian Hutus, often distinguished by accent, physical traits, or clothing, systematically separated and executed in nearby locations, and numerous mass killings were reported during this period. The outbreak of the Second Congo War, 1998 to 2003, plunged Uvira and the broader Uvira territory into renewed instability, the conflict emerging from the collapse of relations between President Laurent Desire Kabila and his former Rwandan and Ugandan allies. After toppling Mobutu in 1997, Kabila was accused of sidelining Tutsi elements within his administration in favor of loyalists from his Cotonou base of support. At the same time, allegations arose that the United States had indirectly facilitated Rwanda's military capacity in order to secure access to the DRC's vast natural resources. In July 1998, a Rwanda Interagency Assessment Team, RIAT, from the U.S. Army reportedly provided training to Rwandan forces, while investigative journalist Keith Harmon Snow claimed that U.S. officials such as Roger Winter of the U.S. Committee for Refugees and Immigrants extended support to insurgent networks. Tensions escalated sharply in July 1998 when Kabila, fearing a coup, dismissed Rwandan General James Kabarebe from his post as Chief of Staff of the Congolese Armed Forces, Forces Armes Congolaises, FAC, and ordered the withdrawal of all RPA personnel from Congolese territory. In response, Rwanda and Uganda sponsored the creation of a new insurgency, the Rassemblement Congolais pour la Démocratie, RCD. On August 2, 1998, mutinous Congolese soldiers allied with the RPA, the Ugandan People's Defense Force, UPDF, the FAB, and remnants of FAZ, announced their rebellion through Radio Télévision Nationale Congolaise, RTNC, in Goma. Within weeks, the RCD and its allies had captured key urban centers across North and South Kivu, Oriental Province, and northern Katanga, and advanced deep into Equateur Province. Their attempted march on Kinshasa and Basse-Congo, now Congo Central, was ultimately repelled by Forças Armadas Angolanas, FAA, and Zimbabwe Defense Forces, ZDF, intervention on behalf of Kabila. The war rapidly fractured the Congolese state into rival spheres of control as Kabila's government retained authority over the western and southern regions of the country, supported militarily by ZDF, FAA, the Namibia Defense Force, NDF, the Armée Nationale Tchadienne, ANT, and the Sudanese government. 78 By contrast, the east fell under the control of the RCD's armed wing, the Armée Nationale Congolaise, ANC, backed principally by Rwanda, Uganda, and Burundi. In an effort to counterbalance the ANC's influence, Kinshasa cultivated alliances with a diverse spectrum of actors, including Mai-Mai groups, the Burundian Hutu Movement Forces pour la Défense de la Démocratie, FDD, and remnants of the ex-Forces Armes Rwandaises, FAR, and Interahamwe, reorganized under the banner of the Armée de Libération du Rwanda, ALR. Meanwhile, Uganda consolidated its grip on Oriental Province by sponsoring the Movement pour la Libération du Congo, MLC, under Jean Pierre Bemba, which administered territories in Equateur Province. Growing rivalry between Uganda and Rwanda for territorial and economic influence triggered, in March 1999, a schism within the RCD, producing a pro-Rwandan faction, RCD Goma, and a pro-Ugandan faction, RCD Movement de Liberation, later RCD-ML. In Uvira and the wider Uvira Territory, RCD Goma and the ANC secured control of major towns in collaboration with the RPA and FAB. However, their authority remained tenuous in rural areas, where resentment toward the RCD's reliance on Rwandan support and its perceived alignment with Tutsi and Banyamulenge communities fostered opposition. Reports of systematic abuses by RCD forces, including massacres, forced recruitment, and widespread sexual violence, also alienated local populations. 83 This volatile environment provided fertile ground for the expansion of Mai-Mai militias, as young men joined established factions or founded new ones, such as Mudundu 40 in Walungu territory. Some of these groups entered into tactical alliances with ex-FAR/Interahamwe units within the ALR, as well as with the Burundian Hutu CNDD-FDD. 83 While certain Mai-Mai divisions, notably General Pottery's forces in Bunyakiri and Colonel Dunya's forces d'Autodefense Populaires, FAP, in Chavunda territory, received material assistance from Kinshasa, many operated autonomously. Their attacks on RCD Goma positions prompted retaliatory operations by the ANC, RPA, and FAB, which often included indiscriminate violence against civilians, mass displacement, and large-scale sexual assault, and on August 6, 1998, these units killed tens of civilians in Uvira. The official end of the war came in July 2003 with the signing of the Global and All-Inclusive Agreement on Transition in Kinshasa. However, despite the formal end of the war, the region continues to face sporadic outbreaks of violence, often involving armed groups, militias, and intercommunal tensions. These ongoing conflicts have resulted in further violence, population displacement, and human rights abuses in Uvira and its surrounding areas. In 2017, the CNPSC rebel group launched an attack on the city, which was repelled by the National Army and MONUSCO forces. The Uvira's economy is bolstered by its primary sector, driven by extensive family-based subsistence agriculture. The area yields a variety of crops, such as Irish potatoes, maize, beans, cowpeas, cabbage, and the newly introduced carrots, amaranths, onions, and spring onions. Staple crops include maize, Irish potatoes, and bush beans, while cowpeas are cultivated less frequently. Potatoes and maize were said to have been introduced in 1985 by a local NGO, Group Milima, and in 1987, historian Bishikwabo Chubeka recorded that an area of 10 hectares had been sown with wheat, rice, corn, and beans in the vicinity of the Uvira post, compared to 19.5 hectares cultivated across the entire Uvira territory. In addition to crops, the city's food economy depends on its environmental resources. The fertile Ruzizi Plain yields agricultural surpluses, while the wild upland areas are important for livestock farming. 65 in recent innovations include the introduction of onion cultivation in Kitumba, pioneered by a local farmer, and the integration of amaranths and spring onions in Kahololo. Institutionally, Uvira hosts Nabahaya Food Institute, a key agricultural organization, along with the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture's research station. Fishing and livestock. Due to Uvira's close location to Lake Tanganyika, the world's second deepest lake and a source of rich aquatic life, fishing has developed as a primary economic activity, supporting around 1% of residents directly or indirectly. The sector involves local communities, including the Vira, Bafuliru, and Bimbe, who cultivate various fish types such as tilapia, catfish, kapenta, referred to locally as endocala or sambaza, protopterus, locally called njambo, Astatotilapia burtoni or kijoli, clarias. Known as Campbell, Tanganyika killifish, sleek lates, regionally called muk, Lake Tanganyika sprat, Stolothrissa tanganisi, and Nile perch. Of these, Stolothrissa constitutes up to 80% of the total catch in the northern basin of the lake. These species are central to artisanal fishing operations and broader fisheries shared with Burundi and Tanzania. Fishing contributes to food security, alleviating malnutrition, and improving the nutritional status of communities, particularly those living in rural areas or in nearby cities and towns such as Sanga, Luvungi, and Kiliba. It also provides significant income-generating opportunities for farmers and entrepreneurs, who sell their fish products in notable markets such as March Maindilio, March Kalimabenge, and March Malongwi. Uvira is also home to the Centre de Recherche en Hydrobiologie, CRH Uvira, a leading institution dedicated to the scientific study of freshwater ecosystems. Founded on May 26, 1950 as the Centre de Recherche Scientifique du Tanganyika under the auspices of the Belgian Institut de Recherche Scientifique en Afrique Centrale, IRSAC, the center conducts research on the biology, ecology, and conservation of aquatic life in Lake Tanganyika. Family-based livestock breeding is widespread in Uvira. Historical records from 1900 counted 105 head of large stock and 195 of small stock in the city, while Ruzizi in Uvira Territory registered 81 and 53, and Bukavu 76 and 43, respectively. Common livestock includes cattle, goats, sheep, and pigs. Poultry farming is also prevalent, with nearly every family in the city engaged in rearing chickens, turkeys, rabbits, guinea pigs, and other fowl. The area is renowned for its cultural heritage and craftsmanship, with locals producing a diverse range of handcrafted goods that include carpentry, joinery, masonry, tailoring, shoemaking, and bicycle taxi services. In addition, they excel in woodworking, pottery, basket weaving, metalwork, and textile production. The Uruguayan Riverine Company, URPAC, of MONUSCO patrols Lake Tanganyika and conducts joint training with the FARC Navy aboard the vessel UN-12 between Uvira and Baraka. The city benefits from its close geographical location, which enables it to engage in internal and external trade with Burundi, Tanzania, Zambia, Rwanda, the city of Bukavu, Kalemie, and the Fizi Territory. Itinerant trade, commuting, and freight forwarding are primarily conducted by the local population. The main public markets include Kalundu, Maindilio, Kalimabenge, Soko Congolese Zairians, Kazanga, Kanvimbra, and Kilomani. The primary communication channels that facilitate traffic with the outside world are: the lake route ensures the transportation of people and goods on Lake Tanganyika, connecting neighboring and foreign countries such as Burundi, Tanzania, and Zambia. This route is serviced by boats and ships. The land route connects Uvira Bukavu, and another section links Uvira to Bujumbura. There is also a route connecting Uvira to Kalemie via the Fizi Territory. Thank you for watching this video.